We are live. Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store for you tonight. Pooh Bear, make sure there's no children around you around 7:10, 7:12. Ruffino's Rants is going off tonight. I don't know if you heard, but the five-star quarterback, yet again, that LSU gets committed, gets dropped down in the rankings after, Walker Howard didn't reclassify, but Colin Hurley is moved down again. About the same time every year, we talk about the same things. Colin Hurley, the five-star quarterback who reclassified for next year's recruiting class, was dropped from a 5-star to a 3-star, and the example that was given was because he was short, his physical stature, and that other quarterbacks just didn't do it well when they reclassified. So I guess you can go from a 5-star to a 3-star. Nevertheless, we'll talk about that here tonight. Not the only quarterback that we're talking about tonight, I will add. As what does a return to greatness look like? Can it be sooner rather than later? You know, Colin Cowherd said something really interesting today. Great elite coaches get things rolling in year two, just ask Nick Saban, and I agree with him on that. But LSU released today their seniors for senior night that did not include two very interesting young men at LSU. Very, very interesting. So we'll talk about that here tonight. Does JD5, does he return? And what does it mean if he does return? We'll touch on that as well. Wilson Alexander from The Advocate joins us at 7:30. Always look forward to having the man with the best hair in the business, Wilson Alexander, at 7:30. Talk around this weekend. What does he think that LSU needs to do these next couple weeks? Obviously, you got to win, but is there something he wants to see more from LSU when they go into facing Georgia in 2 weeks? He'll join us. Really looking forward to that. We will preview the SEC Week 12. Pooh Bear is not going to agree with me on this one. Pooh Bear, I'm calling my shot. You ready? South Carolina is going to give Tennessee a little bit of run of their money. I'm calling it. Cockvimber is back. I don't know what they call it. Our Saturday co-host Joe DeLeon said something like Cockvimber. So we'll see. I think that game's going to be a little closer than what some people think. Just my opinion. We'll see. We'll talk some SEC Week 12. And I'll touch on Dennis Allen at the end. Dennis Allen at the end of this. Oh, God. It's getting so bad, guys. Guys, it's getting so bad with the Saints. So bad. I don't know what they're going to do. But what I don't agree with is that you can't tear down a team and rebuild it and and you won't have success. Yes, you can, and we've seen teams do it before. You suck right now. You're like Kurt Angle in the early 2000s. You suck. You suck. You suck. You suck. You got to change something. The first thing you probably are going to have to change is your head coach. You don't have to bring it down to the studs. You leave key pieces like Cam Jordan and others. Taysom Hill is a really good player. You can keep him, find a role for him. If Mike Thomas ever wants to play another down of football, maybe, but it doesn't look like he gives two darns about if he plays football or not. God, man. So aggravating watching the Saints play. All right, let's get to a couple comments, though, before we get started. Good friend Stephen Fry, you know what time it is. Guys, get over to our good friends over at Fry Construction. They really do it all. Site work and land development, oil and gas services, commercial construction, aggregate and soil hauling, waste containers, demolition. Give them a call today at 337-457-5100. That's 337-457-5100. Let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by when you call them. Yes. Tasha the Tiger Thibodeau says, can a Facebook group sponsor an NIL asking for a friend? Tasha, if it's got a, probably, I would, I don't see why not. I mean, NIL is a binding contract. Now, what I would tell you, is I would possibly form an LLC behind that. So if anybody's interested on NIL deals, as we've structured a couple, we'll have a couple in the future that we'll announce. We're really excited about with those. But listen, if you're interested, you run a business, you want to get in the NIL space, guys, it's here. You can hate it all you want to, but if you want LSU to succeed, you're going to have to get involved. I would form an LLC first, start a company, and then use everything through your LLC. It's the best way for tax purposes, and it's not just for you. It's for the kids. It's for the student athletes. Just that's the way I would do it. It's the way I do it. But I don't see why not. Ryan on YouTube says, Hurley is 6'1" and over 200 pounds as a 15-year-old. Come on, man. Come on, dog. Yeah, I know. Jake Stockinger on Facebook sends us some stars. Thank you so much, Jake, for doing that. Stephen Young says Tiger Droppings signed Will Campbell to an NIL deal. I didn't see that. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty cool. So there you go, Tasha. I mean, maybe so. We've done it. You would just need to go. And look, LSU does fantastic. And let me say this before I go on to these comments. Guys, Taylor Jacobs over at LSU is top notch. She's fantastic at what she does. Just give her a call. She'll walk you through everything that you can and can't do and things like that. Brandon Reese says, if Daniels returns, he'll be the most proven QB in the SEC next year. Bryce Young, Richardson, Jefferson, Bennett, Rogers at Mississippi State, Rattler, and Hooker will be gone next year. I think Richardson can return, right? He's got the COVID year. He hasn't been there. I don't think he's been there 6 years, right? Or 5 years, right? I don't think he would have to leave. But nevertheless, to your point, Brandon, he would be probably the older of the quarterbacks in the SEC, if not the country. We'll touch on that. I can touch on that first. What it would mean, at least for me, if he returns, I think it would be massive for LSU. And no, I don't believe that Walker Howard's going anywhere. He loves LSU too much. And look, he's still a very talented human being. Look, I don't know if next year you don't do things with Walker Howard. Like look, let me say this too. Jaden Daniels is extremely exceptional at what he does. Extremely good at what he does. But and it's just of my opinion from what I've seen in person, not just in high school, but in college, the kid is a baller. So I would still start Jade. He's got the experience. Jaden Daniel can lead you to a natty. He can lead you to a natty. For crying out loud, he led you to winning the SEC West. He can lead you to a natty. But yeah. Jake, you've asked this question a couple times, and I'm not going to say this, but you're talking about 104.5 ESPN. I don't know, man. You're going to have to ask them. I don't know if like this is a fake profile or not or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Ask them. I don't have anything against them. Mike Howard says, guys, keep an eye on probably the best freshman quarterback in the state, Luke Delafield of North DeSoto, 1,700 yards, 29 touchdowns. Yeah, I need to go watch him play. You're like the seventh person who's talked about him. Mike, what's his height and weight? Brandon, and give me a very accurate height and weight. Don't give me like one time I remember 4 years ago, somebody told me about Puka Williams, or no, longer than that. It's got to be probably 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. Somebody told me Puka Williams was 6'1.5", like 210. And I hadn't seen Puka play yet. I'm like, there's no way. Brandon Reese says he knows he's in over his head at this point. Who's that? Are you talking about Richardson? Maybe. But guys, it's his first year starting. Some of you got to be a little bit more patient. And I'm not sticking up for Anthony Richardson. Like I thought that about Stetson Bennett. I thought that about Joe Burrow. I mean, sometimes you just got to let quarterbacks grow a little bit. Like the quarterback position's not always stick in Trevor Lawrence and you win a natty. Cody McGee says, hashtag ask Blake, when are you going to have Memphis Spitz back on the show? Memphis was actually out in California doing some things. I'll have to hit him back up. I don't know if he got back in town or not. All right, a couple more, then we'll get rolling. Krim M on YouTube says, when LSU makes it to the playoffs this year, Jaden's out of there. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because at that point, it's not about him. It wouldn't boost his draft status if they got to the playoffs right now, because this quarterback class is so much deeper than what next year's class would be. It would probably, for in that realm alone, in my opinion, would be a lot better for him to come and have a whole offseason with Joe Sloan. Noble Patterson III says, how do you feel about the comments from Reese Davis? I got to be. So if you missed it last night on the College Football Playoff Committee, Reese Davis says there's no way you can put in LSU after they beat LSU by 27. I don't really agree with Reese Davis. That's why he was the only one dying on that hill. I mean, look, Reese is an Alabama guy. He's an Alabama alum. I'm not going to take the words of Reese Davis. Reese Davis's opinions are no better than mine. Just don't. I mean, not trying to be rude, but just because he's on College Game Day doesn't mean anything. I mean, like I'm old enough to remember that when he said after the Florida State game, he said LSU is the worst team in the SEC West. So with all due respect to Reese, you already won they've won the West. So some of these guys and some of these dudes, like, you can't take a lot out of week one. You just relatively can't. So, no, I'm not buying that LSU can't get in because there are 2 losses. And at that point, would be an SEC champ. I don't, phooey. I ain't got nothing for it. Brandon said he was talking about Dennis Allen. All right, sounds good. All right, everybody do us a favor by hitting like and share. So many of you listening to us live right now on Facebook. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Hit the like and share those Facebook groups. Tasha Thibodeau, if you haven't joined, she mentioned it earlier. The Real LSU Nation, go in there, like, subscribe, or just like the Facebook group. Or I think you got to, Tasha, help me out. I think you got to get approved and all that kind of stuff. So go there too. But share the groups like hers on Facebook. If you're listening to us and also share to your own social media pages. If you're listening to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, notification bell. We greatly appreciate you guys doing that. And also, want to thank again our partners over at TuneIn app. And if you're listening to us on XM Radio from the Believe Network, thank you so much for doing so. Rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, let's get this thing rolling. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag and our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons, gmvarnosons.com. We return in 1 minute. Ruffino's rant's about to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varno & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992. 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. All right, let's get this thing started, y'all. Adrian on Facebook says, Blake, your opinion is worth way more than Reese Davis. Thank you. I think we're a little bit more right than him. James Sells says the one and only. Oh, and by the way, about Reese, stop with this bullshit about y'all don't see the rankings before they come out. You know it's a lie. The country knows it's a lie. I know it's a lie. I know that you were telling people around the country when LSU won the national title in 2019, you had called people, or maybe not called them, but you had reached out to people and told them that ESPN had given you the rankings 3.5 hours before and LSU was going to be number one. Now, we knew that they were going to be number one, but you told them that they were facing Oklahoma while Orgeron was out recruiting, and Ed couldn't keep his mouth shut long enough because, well, not only Ed, but Ed's team, and you know who was a part of his team, Ed's team couldn't keep their mouth shut long enough that I was two shakes from a horse's ass from breaking that news on AYS before they red lighted us and told us, oh, well, you'll get in trouble. So I told them pretty much they could suck a bag of you-know-whats. And so don't tell me you don't know the rankings either. That's a pet peeve of mine. Don't sit there and lie, dude. Like, I get it's your job, but come on, dude. Come on. Yes, Pooh, I said suck a bag of you-know-what. All right. Blaine Smith says, hashtag ask Blake, who would you like to play if we don't make the playoff? I don't really care. I mean, look, it would be nice if a Notre Dame went out and they made their happy asses down to the Sugar Bowl. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I don't think that they would put LSU and Notre Dame together, but it would be really nice if they did. I would love to see us clap those Irish cheeks a lot and bad and fast. Clap, 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 clap. Mike Howard says Delafield. Okay. We'll talk about that. Just hit me up. I want to go look at him. Dane Borgeron says, hey, Matt, ordered more. Okay. Oh, there you go. He says order more stuff from First Light, but my name's Blake. It's right there. It's right there. I know you know, Dan. All right. Let's get this thing rolling. If you missed today, I'm not going to stay on this Ruffino's rants long. Want to get to Jaden Daniels. Something, because there is some talk about him returning. And we've talked about this week with Jaden too. There's some things I want to see from him as he continues to progress. Look, what was it last week? A couple weeks ago? I know it was the day that Jewel was born. I believe that Colin Hurley committed. When the day that my daughter was born, either the same day or the day after, whatever. Needless to say this, guys, I mean, look, if you don't know who Colin Hurley is, he was a 5-star quarterback. He was going to be in the 2025 class. He reclassified in 2024. And I probably shouldn't be spending a whole hell of a lot of time on this. But if you missed it today, 247 dropped Colin Hurley from a 5-star recruit to a 3-star recruit. Look, I don't really care a lot of times when guys move up and down the board, but the explanation that 247 gave was that people don't really do well in reclassifying, which quarterbacks maybe don't, but other guys do, and other teams have. Georgia has the best probably corner in the SEC who reclassified, so don't say it doesn't work. The young man's very mature. But to say that you're going to move him from a 5-star to a 4 or a 3-star when it has nothing to do based on his physical ability and his mental ability, and it's due because other people haven't had success, is ignorant and foolish. It's ignorant and foolish. That's why I try to tell some recruits all the time. There's really good people in the recruiting business. We have had them on this show. But all I'm going to say is sometimes you got to be careful. If you have a young man that plays high school football or any high school sports in your house, be careful who you're letting them talk to in reference to stuff like that. Be careful. I don't get it anymore. Like I don't get like Colin Hurley dropping from a 5-star to a 3-star because he reclassified. How many state championships does Colin Hurley have to win before you think that he's a good damn player? Or is it because he came to LSU? And look, this is the kinds of stuff, and I don't really buy into that there's LSU bias and people are out to LSU. Like, I really don't buy into that a lot. But it's really, 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 really hard. It's really hard when you've had multiple 5-star recruits that have committed to LSU, Shelton Sampson, Walker Howard. Now you have Colin Hurley that have dropped significantly in the rankings. And because of what? Did you watch film on Colin Hurley? How much have you seen him? I promise you this. Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan know more about quarterback play than 247. That I know for a fact, which doesn't make me worry about this or worry about Colin Hurley and his maturity level. But you talk about height, you talk about size, you talk about all this different kinds of things of why you think now Colin Hurley's not good. Bryce Young won a Heisman last year. They say Bryce Young's 6 foot. I've stared at that young man on the sidelines at an LSU Alabama game. There's no way in green hell that young man is 6 foot. I'm telling you right now, he's lucky if he's pushing 5'10". He is not 6 foot. So, it's really hard to come out here to LSU fans on a nightly show and say that, guys, there's not bias, but when someone drops over close to 600 spots, it's a big deal. I see the stupid ass comment. I'm going to get to it. You know what? We're going to get him on tomorrow. Big Game Boomer, LSU fans think everyone is after them. Bring your silly ass on the show. Come on. Actually, you know what, Pooh? Let's message him. Or we'll message him after the show. Bring yourself into the show. You get a top 5 class every year. You know who doesn't? Oklahoma. It doesn't stop the fact, Boomer, it doesn't stop the fact that they just dropped the kid 600 spots after putting him as a 5-star. No one's saying that, dude, when you got your cheeks clapped in 2019, like you're in an LSU show, did we hurt your feelings that bad? I promise you, when it comes on the show, we're gonna throw virtual and trash talking hands. I'm done with it. We'll have him on tomorrow. I promise you that. I'm reaching out to him at the end of the show. I'm not taking this anymore. If it's even him. Trent says we had commits losing stars while football wasn't even being played during the summer and during COVID. So excuse me for asking the simple question of why young men are being dropped in the rankings. It's kind of foolish, dude. Like, it really is foolish. I get that he reclassified. Drop him down to a 4-star, but make an evaluation of the quarterbacks that are inside this class. You mean to tell me that there's 25 other quarterbacks in the 2024 class is better than Colin Hurley? Is that what you're telling me? And now you say his size is a problem? Why wasn't it a problem when he was a 5-star quarterback for the 2025 class? Why is it a problem now and not a problem then? You know what's interesting is I heard a lot of people, Pooh Bear, say that there's no way that Jaden Daniels is making it out of the SEC. You remember that? I'm old enough to remember when they said Jaden Daniels is 205 pounds. If he's soaking wet and he's lucky, he can't make it out of the SEC taking all them hits. There's one word I want to respond with that. Shit. Shit. Bryce Young did. Relatively. I mean, he did get hurt this year. Come on, man. Come on. Tyler says I'm leaning more toward because he came to LSU. It's hard, Tyler. It's really hard. It's really hard. Go Hoarder says Jaylen Brown dropped from a 5-star too. So you mean to tell me in 247's composite score rankings that Jaylen Brown, Shelton Sampson, Walker Howard, and Kylan Hurley all at some point were a 5-star recruit got dropped in less than a year? Is that what you're going to tell me? All of them committed to LSU. One time, shame on you. 2 times, shame on me. 3 times, there's not a saying for it. And 4 times, you look like a buffoon. Adrian says, well, Jordan Jefferson was a 3-star, Clyde was a 3-star. That has nothing to do with what the point that I'm making. I'm not making that point. The point is that Justin Jefferson and Clyde was always 3 stars. They didn't drop from one of the best play. When you put a 5-star label on a kid, you're saying he's transcendent. To drop him that low is idiotic at best. And I promise you, don't get in this battle with me in reference to, well, this reason, that reason. Don't toe the company line. You will lose that argument. You will lose that argument. You know it's BS. I know it's BS. You know it's BS, and I know it's BS. Every time my brother does this, and I see him laughing, I know it's because my nephew Cooper's on. When I said, shit. Cooper, don't look, you can aspire to be like your favorite Uncle Blake, but don't say what I say. All right, let's transition to another quarterback. Wilson Alexander joining us in 2 minutes or 1 minute. Let me say this. Pooh Bear, it's interesting. We took a lot of flack behind this Jaden Daniels thing, right? We took a lot of flack behind saying that we thought that young man could really play. Guys, we're in a situation now that Jaden Daniels could be a senior. He could be out there for senior night. But there is an interesting angle here in reference to Jaden Daniels returning, right? Like, I don't know how all of you feel, but it doesn't really matter how you feel. It's like The Rock. Remember The Rock in the early 2000s, the late 90s? Well, how does that make you feel? It doesn't matter how it makes you feel. What's the truth? Guys, if JD5 does return for next season, I look at this situation, does John Emery return? Your entire offensive line would more than likely return. So if you have Jaden Daniels that returns, John Emery that returns, you have guys like Armani Goodwin that will be back. You have some weapons on the outside, and you're adding on to that with guys like Jaylen Brown, who we just mentioned just a minute ago, and you add Shelton Sampson. Now, I don't know why JD5 is not, on the list of Senior Bowl stuff or seniors getting announced this weekend. Like, I don't know that. I'm not going to pretend that I do know why he's not going out there and running throughout that tunnel and being recognized on senior night. Does that mean that he's coming back next season? I will, as a fan, I will tell you, man, I kind of hope so. The question that will come of that, though, is, well, what about Walker Howard? Guys, Walker Howard can sit another year and get another year under his belt. He can. Like, it's plausible. But Jaden has done some really good things. What will be interesting here, and we'll get to Wilson Alexander next, but what will be interesting here, how much does Joe Sloan and Brian Kelly have in a full off season with Jaden Daniels? How does working with your receivers and your offensive line, how does that transcend. And you know what's a great thing about this? And God bless it, and God willing, God forbid something happened to that young man next year. Okay, and he gets nicked up or he gets hurt. You do have that 5-star quarterback that's behind him, a guy that everybody is waiting to see transcend. What Jaden does with his legs is outside of this world, guys. It just is. You can't teach what he does running the football. I'm not going to say that LSU will win a national championship next year if LSU returns. Way too early. We're still in this year. But I'm just going to preface this right now as we broke some of this, the first day that we saw Harold Perkins, we posted the clip, whatever, in August. You will start getting a lot of national recognition more than probably you would if he didn't. That's my opinion. So, look, the DMs were getting hit up today. Hey, Blake, why ain't JD5 on the senior list to get recognized? Guys, I don't know. But there is a man who might know. He's got the best hair in the business. I come out here and say I'm not going to say it every week, but nevertheless, I do it. I feel shameful, to be honest with you. He knows he loves it. All right. So talking about our good friends over at Gramco, thegramco.com. Guys, use that promo code AYS25 at checkout. But let me talk to you guys all before we get to that about our good friends over at Synergy Resources. Synergy RELLC.net. That's Synergy RESLLC.net. Give my good buddy Tully a call today at 337-552-1919. That's 337-552-1919. And let him know that your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by for all your hoses, pipes, fittings. They do it all. You know you need to go by and see them. All right, let's talk about our good friends over at Gramco. 45 seconds. We're back with the Advocates, Wilson Alexander. Guys, I've got to talk to you about our good friends over at Gramco. They are the Delta 8 company based out of the state of Florida. They're founded by college football junkies just like you and I am not sure if you're familiar with Delta 8, but you need to be. Gramco is the absolute leader in this field, and they have phenomenal products that I just need to tell you about. First off is the Wake and Bake coffee that is absolutely spectacular. The gummies are as well, as they're the best in the market. So go to thegramco.com right now and use the promo code AYS25. That's thegramco.com, AYS25 promo code to get 25% off of your order. Jump on this fast as it is perfect for holidays, anniversaries, and everyday use. Gramco is hemp-derived and completely legal inside of the state of Louisiana. No medical card is needed, and shipping is very discreet. You must be 21 years older to order. Again, that's thegramco.com. Use that promo code AYS25. All right, we're joined here by our good friend Wilson Alexander from The Advocate. Wilson, let me just start off here and just ask you this. I know that there are a lot of people saying, and a lot of fans have asked me today, Jaden Daniels is not on the seniors to be recognized, or senior list to be recognized this upcoming Saturday. Let me ask you, when you see that, is there any questions, thoughts, and maybe there's a return, or am I reading too much into that like fans are as well?
I don't think you're necessarily reading too much into it. There's a few guys on that list who, possible seniors who will not be recognized, and that could be for a couple of different reasons. Brian Kelly sort of addressed it in passing a little bit earlier this week when asked about the senior class in general, saying that some of them haven't graduated and some of them are coming back next year because you've got that extra COVID year. Jaden Daniels, when he came to LSU, he always had those 2 years of eligibility, and it is possible for him to come back next year. Whether or not that means that he does at this point, I don't know. We haven't heard straight from Jaden in a while, but I think it would be something worth asking Brian Kelly tomorrow when we get a chance to speak with him. If any of those guys have decided and already told him that they're coming back, but there's a long way to go in this process. I mean, if somebody really shows out in the SEC championship game against Georgia, in a potential playoff, even if it's just a New Year's Six bowl game, then they could maybe really boost their draft stock. So there's still such a long time to go that you don't necessarily know for certain at this point, because somebody could not have that senior night and then still just go to the draft anyway. But it does fuel the idea that it's something that he's thinking about and that he's maybe going to come back. But we don't know for sure at this point.
If he does, what would you, I guess, look, he's just progressed so much throughout this season under Sloan, under Denbrock, under Kelly. I mean, with an entire offseason, with a lot of receivers returning, with an offensive line that could still all be intact. I mean, Wilson, you could be talking about something that could be like, hey, man, we got to talk about LSU offensively if he does return. If he does, what would your thoughts be?
I mean, it's just kind of crazy how much the conversation and narrative has shifted in the last month. Because a month ago, everybody's wanting him bench. They're saying, get on out of here. Don't leave us alone, all of that kind of thing. And then now it's, oh, please come back. Because like you said, as good as the other quarterbacks are on LSU's roster, and as much as everybody probably wants to see Walker Howard at some point, year two in an offense can usually be extremely productive. LSU saw it up close from 2018 to 19 as that 2018 offense started to really click down the stretch, particularly in the Fiesta Bowl, and then obviously came out on fire in 2019. You're not expecting 2019 to happen again, but the year two can really be productive when everybody's got more and more time to work with each other, because that's been the thing that's been really beneficial for the offense and why we've seen some change over the last month. Is it's just been time together, and LSU's playmakers would have a lot more time together. You're seeing it this year with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman at Tennessee. Last year, that offense wasn't great, but you could see that things were getting better, and now they're firing on all cylinders because they have chemistry. And so it would be pretty beneficial if he did come back because LSU would be able to continue to build off of what it's done over the last month.
All right, so we got that answer, and our answer at least from you. I guess we'll see as the season goes on. I do agree with you massively. I mean, look, if you go into Georgia and you win and you beat them and you go to a playoff, then Jaden Stock's probably going to rise. Maybe not to a level that, I mean, we'll just have to see. I kind of agree with you. All right, but we do have UAB and Texas A&M coming up here. Is there anything specific that you want to see LSU do this weekend against UAB? Look, I want to see the offense get rolling back again is my biggest thing, but is there anything you're looking forward to?
Primarily that. It's just first of all, just stay healthy and get a win, and
right.
that's kind of the main thing. But as you start to think about going on the road to beat Texas A&M, as bad as Texas A&M has been this year, the defense has been still there, and then of course Georgia after that. You need to start to see some progression offensively again, and whether or not, and just try to prove that was just kind of a one-game hiccups, a really good Arkansas game plan, bad circumstances with the weather, and just kind of move past it. See Jaden stretch the ball downfield and kind of just get back on track would be the main thing, because defensively they have all the pieces to be able to do what they need to do to stop UAB. But for this to not just be a comfortable win, but really a dominating win, just need to see the offense get back on track. And a lot of that comes with the passing game.
I want to get to Harold Perkins so bad. We'll get to him in just a minute. But I kind of can't, but we'll get to him in just a minute. So, look, Josh Williams is obviously being emergent, but Wilson, the running game has been what LSU's identity has been around. When Arkansas took it away, it really struggled, or the offense really struggled. I said last night, and talking about what you were just saying about hitting passes down the field, you got to start working on that now if you want to take down Georgia. Like, you're just going to have to. Do you think that Brian Kelly, because when we talked, or when he talked on Monday, he talked about, look, we got to fix these three things offensively. I don't know if it's just me or maybe you feel this way too. I don't really have any worries, though, in covering Brian Kelly and this team that they won't get, they will get things fixed. That I just don't have a worry anymore behind that. Am I reading too much in that as well?
No, I mean, they've shown the ability to make adjustments throughout the season. I mean, there's obviously been times where it's not just like week after week, they have a problem, they fix it immediately. Sometimes it takes some time. Right. But think back to the Auburn game. Brian Kelly comes right out of that. He says, we cannot throw for less than 100 yards and expect to compete with the top teams in the SEC. LSU started throwing the ball all over the place. Jaden made all these strides, and they started beating the top teams in the SEC.
Sounds like Arkansas.
Alabama. Exactly. And it's like, so they go to Arkansas, only throw for 86 yards and still win. But it's just kind of, I'm trying to remember exactly where I was going with that thought process. I guess it's the fact that they've shown that they can have that mistake and have a problem and then turn it around. Because 2 weeks after Brian Kelly says that, they start throwing the ball all over the place and the offense really becomes dynamic and electric. And so because they've shown the ability to do that already, my concern level isn't too high, because I think that they have the capability to get back on track because they've shown that they can do it this season in the middle of the year.
Is Harold Perkins the best freshman that we've seen since 19, Derek Stingley, or is it past that at this point? Like, I mean, Stingley is attached to that 19 team, which makes it very difficult what he did with all those interceptions, big plays, stuff like that. But Wilson, I mean, this kid, Harold Perkins, man, I mean, it's just unfreaking believable. I mean, there's not a better freshman in the country, in my opinion. So I guess when you watch him do what he's doing, I mean, is there enough words in the English dictionary to describe what he's doing on a football field?
We're running out of them. I mean, we've tried to explain it so many times. He's interesting because in terms of pure talent, I mean, Stingley is phenomenal, right? But Harold, you could probably, I think, argue is more disruptive and impactful because of where he is on the field. It's easier to see anyway. I mean, Stingley locked down one side and he was great, but Harold, you're seeing and saying his name over and over and over and over again because Stingley would just lock things up. That's kind of just the nature of cornerback versus, right, interior kind of linebacker, edge rusher, is that the edge rusher, player is going to get that name called more often. But I mean, Harold, it's tough to compare. I mean, you can make arguments for both. They're even against Tyrann Mathieu and a lot of the other successful freshmen in LSU history. Harold's right up there with them. I mean, he's so fast. He's electric. I'm trying to use the words, that like, but you run out of them in a second because there's so many also that just apply to him. He's mature. I mean, just to have the mental fortitude to be able to play this well this early, and it's interesting because he's only scratching the surface. I mean, they've got him basically still playing see ball, get ball. Everybody's clearing things out, and then as Micah Baskerville explained to us yesterday, Harold's just sitting there waiting to clean everything up. And it's going to get to the point where, and you're already seeing this, he's getting better in pass pro. He's getting better at making his reads and fitting the run and doing those things that to become a complete and total linebacker. And if he can get to that point, I mean, he's already doing this. If he can get to that point, he'll be the best defensive player in college football.
I agree with that. And what's crazy, Wilson, like you mentioned, how does that young man get better? You know what I mean? Like, and it's so weird to ask that question. Like, what is, like, I get that, like, when you pop in the film and you're like, okay, well, he missed his coverage. But then you turn right around and he gets a sack and on a third down. It's like, okay, well, I mean, kind of like damned if you can't really say anything. Like, what do you say to him, really? I just don't know. Do you remember? I mean, I know that Calvin Chesson was a really good edge guy in 19, but it wasn't like this. I think that's been what LSU's defense has been missing for a while, is a dude that just can go out there and get sacks at any given moment, too.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb I remember going to the year there, or Ed Orgeron was saying, like, oh, maybe he can challenge Arden Key's sack record. And some of that could be the fact that offenses have changed. It's harder to rack up sacks these days than it might have used to be because the ball's getting out fast and things are spread out. But in that 19 season, it was a big storyline that, the freshman linebacker whose name is
Marcel Brooks.
Thank you. Transferred to TCU. Like when he came on as a pass rusher and was an option in that sort of third down package, it was like, oh, well, here's maybe the pass rush that LSU needs to really take off as a defense. And you don't have that this year because part of it is BJ Ojolari has been really reliable too on the edge. But yeah, Harold is so dynamic that he is giving LSU something that it hasn't had in a few years because you kind of expect or think that he can come off the edge at any moment and change the course of a game because he's started to do that. I mean, he did that against Ole Miss. He did that against Alabama, and now he's done it against Arkansas, and he was effective against Florida too. I mean, he's phenomenal. And when you ask about ways to get better, it's just clean. It's learning all the other things that linebackers do, which he's already starting to get a hold of.
Are you starting to see the trend of fans calling him Percules? I mean, I can't believe that this is even a thing, but I guess social media takes they just do what they do and it just takes off. But with an age of NIL, I could see all of LSU stadium wearing a Percules shirt if this kid keeps doing what he's doing too.
Yeah, you could see that. It'll be interesting to see what name kind of sticks with him. I know a lot of people also like Perk 40 and
Perk 40,
just Perk in general. It's interesting. Actually, I'll do a quick shameless plug, I guess. I did a feature on
No
him
shameless
went up
plugs.
right in the
No
morning of
shameless
the
plugs.
game,
Do
and
it.
one of his high school's coaches said, "I only call him Harold. Everybody else calls him Perk, but I just call him Harold because because there's sort of like almost two different, like a different side of him kind of comes out in the field, and that's Perk, and then the rest of the time he's just Harold. This kid who's humble and calls his coaches during the pandemic just to see how they're doing, and really think thoughtful and it's not that he's like a completely different person, but it is interesting to say that nickname kind of is the one that's kind of taken hold because it's also easy to say Perk.
Mhm. Well, and if I'm not mistaken, I mean, the honey badger came from just a damn YouTube video, right? Like, that was a trend, and the honey badger takes what he wants. I'm keeping out a couple words there. Our producer says it's time for the percolator. You got a lot of occasions that might mix that word up, Pooh. I'm just letting you know. All right, Wilson, one last thing before we get you out of here. I asked you a couple weeks ago, Tennessee, Georgia. I believe you picked Georgia to take down Tennessee when we talked about that, if I'm not mistaken. Take a little quick peek. Can LSU take them down?
Actually, I might have taken Tennessee in that game.
Okay, well, maybe you did. I thought you took Georgia because you said you're from that area.
I am, but I think I took Tennessee because I didn't think that Georgia had the secondary to stop them from going over the top.
Yeah,
Clearly,
that's right.
They did. They played man up on them, got physical, and it didn't matter that Tennessee has some dudes at receiver. LSU, say early SEC championship kind of look. LSU, I started writing about this today. I talked to a bunch of the SEC coaches about it. LSU, I think, has a chance in this game, but it's kind of like Alabama where things really got to go right. And so a few different areas. And Georgia's at another level than even Alabama is this year. Alabama going to that game, we were all saying they're kind of vulnerable this year. You look at Georgia, you don't really see that. They don't necessarily have the weapons on the outside, but then they've got all these dudes at tight end. They've got some productive running backs, and they're not bad at wide receiver. It's going to be difficult, but I think we'll get a better picture kind of coming out of the next 2 weeks once we actually get into that game, because kind of like we were talking about earlier, we need to see LSU get back on track offensively. If it's playing offensively like it did against Ole Miss and against Alabama, then it should be able to hang, but it's going to have to do some things schematically to be able to beat Georgia, because that's a team that can really just line up, play man on you, and just out physical you. Both of these teams want to be physical, and it's going to be hard for LSU to out physical Georgia at the line of scrimmage because it's got just some massive people up there. It's going to have to find a way to block Jalen Carter on the interior of the defensive line. He's come back from a knee injury, and he is phenomenal. A lot of people thought he was the best player on Georgia's defense last year. And so LSU is going to have to find a way to kind of block him on the middle. We'll get more into that matchup, though, and kind of figure a little bit more about it once we get closer.
I lied. Last one. If LSU wins out, do they make a playoff, in your opinion?
They should. Exactly. Whether or not they will, I guess we'll have to see. I know there's some people who still think Tennessee would make it above them, and then you run into that idea of 2016 Penn State. But if they win out with a win over Georgia, Bucorg in the CFP chair said yesterday is really pulling ahead of everybody in terms of the CFP's eyes, then they should make the playoff.
I agree. That's what makes you the GOAT, because we agree. I'm just joking. You can disagree with me all you want. Wilson Alexander from The Advocate. Wilson, tell everybody where they can catch all your stuff. I know that y'all went live today on your show. Tell them where they can catch all that great stuff as well.
Yeah, on Twitter there at WHAlexander_, over at theadvocate.com and NOLA.com. And then, we've got a newsletter and a weekly show we do on Wednesdays and earlier in the afternoon over on all of the Advocate's different pages.
Thank you so much, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me. Y'all have a great night.
You too. That's Wilson Alexander from The Advocate. Always great at what he does. I did miss this because we were going into the break, but it's a Dane Bergeron $5 super chizat. Says JD5 needs working throwing the ball deep and would benefit greatly by coming back next year. Thank you so much for the super chat. What's crazy about Dane, you saying that, what's so wild is all off season, the only thing that we talked about was Jaden can't throw the ball intermediate. Now he throws too many intermediate passes versus when he was at Arizona State, where he was exceptional at throwing the ball deep. We say this term a lot, right? We say this term a lot. if that young man does put it all together, like, and is more like, guys, if Jaden, which is so wild because he's 70% completion percentage rate right now, if he's able to be more consistent in reference to hitting passes, like, that he can make every pass, like, you're not wondering if he can, like, it's what's going to happen here. He would be like a Lamar Jackson type, right? Like, he would be like and I don't even really know who else to compare him to, right? Like, because he's so electric with his legs, like, I don't know if there's just another dude to remotely compare him to. And look, you got to give Lamar a lot of credit. He worked on his craft throwing the ball down the field. So, look, we'll see. We will see. Mark, I missed your first comment. I missed your first comment, but if I find it here, I'll get to. Oh, here it is. Mark LaGrange says comparison. If you see Mark's profile picture, that's him at the national title game in 2019, actually taking photos. So, I mean, my man Mark was actually the one that took the picture of me there at LSU. But he says comparison regarding adjustments. Could you imagine feeling confident that Les Miles would make adjustments that would make a difference in a passing game within a week or two? Me either. Kelly equals coaching competence / confidence. I agree with Mark there. Guys, I really just don't feel like I never really get worried about this coaching staff, whether it be recruiting, whether it be in-game adjustments or game plan. Like, I really just don't, man. I really never do. I really never do, because I feel like that they always are going to have a plan to come back. They're always going to have a plan to come back. James Sell says intermediate out routes, rarely over the middle, though. We need some slants to beat Georgia. I agree with you. You got to attack the middle of the field against Georgia, or you're going to get beat. You can't go sideline to sideline on them. Simber says JD5 is a tall, skinny Kyler Murray. Yeah, I mean, I think he's faster than Kyler. Kyler's just shifty, man. But Kyler's got some speed too now. He got that speed. Yeah. He's got some speed now. He's got that speed. Harold Hibbert said, what made Burrow special was hitting the open receiver while being blitzed. I can't argue that. He's struggling right now in the NFL doing that, though, which is kind of crazy. But he doesn't have, his wide receivers aren't getting open. So, yeah, I did during the break. I did message Big Game Boomer. I'm tired of it, Pooh. I can't take any more of it. So I asked him if that was him in the actual show. Maybe I'll take a screenshot of it, Pooh. If you can get a screen grab of that comment or whatever, so I can send it to him. But I'll get him on here. I'm not scared of it. Look, there's only 3 things in this world I'm scared of: heights, dying. I'm not really scared of dying, really. But I don't want to. I was just trying to find a creative way to say I'm scared of my wife. She'd be barking at me. She'd be barking, man. She'd be barking. Okay. I'm not going to get to a commercial, Pooh. I'm just gonna read this out loud. Let me talk about a good friend, John Patton over at GMFS Mortgage. GMFS Mortgage, changing lives. If you're buying a new home, saving money on the mortgage that you have now, or even doing a cash out refi, the timing has never been better. Welcome John, let John welcome you to your new home today. Or if you have an existing home, let him try to get you a better rate. Purchase, refinance, build, or renovate. They do it all. Give him a call today at 225-614-1234. That's 225-614-1234. Let him know that your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Okay. Richard said, all topic, but what is your thoughts on the job Coach Steeples is doing with the secondary? Well, I think that they've gotten a lot better. They don't have that stud on the outside, but I will tell you, what's interesting about Coach Steeples, man, is I thought that when Corey Raymond left, our recruiting was going to suck. I thought when Corey Raymond was not retained and went to Florida, we were going to suck at recruiting defensive backs. God bless America if you get Desmond Ricks. That's all I'm going to tell you. God bless America. You talk about going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Guys, LSU is just a different freaking place. Now, Desmond Ricks is going to make a visit. If he hadn't already done so, maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I don't know if it's been announced. Desmond Ricks is going to make a trip out there to Gainesville. Come on, man. Come on, man. I mean, Helen Keller and Stevie Wonder could see that Billy Napier is starting to lose that locker room a little bit. They had another DB today leave the team. Another defensive back. So we'll talk a little about the SEC. I'm not even going to talk about the games. Let me talk about this around the SEC. What's going on with Sam Pittman and Billy Napier? Like, what in the Sam hell is going on in Arkansas and Florida? Arkansas has dudes leaving the team. Sam Pittman came out today and said one of their players is up and quit. And then you got Florida losing another really good defensive player. I say really good, but just a defensive player. Like, what's going on here in Florida? Like, it feels as if, you know what's crazy to me? As much as everybody talked about Brian Kelly not fitting at LSU and he was too much of a disciplinarian, I don't know of a player that he's just kicked off the team for disciplinary issues, right? Like, I don't maybe I'm misremembering or not thinking. Like, he played that Kayshon Boutte situation perfectly, y'all. And now you got Billy Napier going into Florida getting their cheese clapped because his offensive scheme, in my opinion, absolutely sucks. And you got Billy Napier just letting dudes leave. You don't fit to my way of football. You are out of here. Billy, you can't do that. And, man, I'm going to tell you something. This whole thing in Arkansas with Sam Pittman, I get that you're only losing games by a couple of points here and there, but man, does it feel it's Orgeron without the women being at practice. It's Orgeron without all the sloppiness. There's something, I'm telling you, man, there's something going on in Fayetteville. I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it. Aaron Adams says, but Florida's recruiting's picking up, though. It is. You also got the last visit with my man. Richard says, did I open a big bag of worms? Yes, Richard, you did. Yes, you did. You 1,000% did. Noble says those teams are losing their juice and cannot keep up with the pace. I agree. LB Podcast says, is Jefferson the best wide receiver in the NFL? I think so. And it's not even close. Well, I certainly think he's top 3, and I don't think he's 2 or 3. I don't know if he's the best receiver. I mean, look, you still got one of his old buddies in Jamar Chase. I know that Jamar's a little banged up, but like, let's not forget what Jamar Chase did last year either. So, all right, guys, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. If Big Game Boomer wants to show up, he can. We'll see. We'll see if he shows up. But I've asked him to come on the show. If he wants to talk, he wants to talk. If he wants to talk stuff, if he wants to run his mouth, if he wants some Italian mobsters outside in front of his house, he don't look at me because I don't know any. But we'll set it off anyway. Till then, Pooh Bear's up tonight at 8:30. What time?
8:15.
8:15. All right. Pooh Bear, the Golden Boot Pod. Go watch it. We'll see y'all soon. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.